Hello everyone and welcome back to More Knowing Wheel, episode 53. I'm gonna say episode 53 with confidence this week, even though now it's probably gonna be the first week I get it wrong. But we're back once again. I'm joined as always by Jamie183. How are we doing, mate?
I'm good, yeah. We're recording late because Matt's out living his life on a Monday.
Yeah,
so,
shocking.
Yeah, ridiculous, but here we are.
So yeah, but let's just get the elephant out of the room. It's going to be quite a fast-paced episode today. I think we're going to safely say. Luckily, though, or unluckily, depending on how you want to look at it, there isn't too much to go through today. Of course, timestamps will be linked down below. That is a perfect segue to other things that will be linked down below as well if you're watching this on YouTube. F1 merch, Bybit, Manscaped, clips, everything like that. It's all linked down below.
Not even bothering trying to justify the things, just listing them off at this point.
We're just listing them off this week. Yeah, that's how it is in this week's episode of the podcast. That is how tight we are for time. Here to Jamie. Here today, Jamie. We are. This is going to be such a vibe. Of course, check us out on Spotify as well if you're watching this on YouTube. You know, the spot over there recently has been phenomenal as well. But F1. We head to Miami this week, Jamie. How are we feeling about this?
I'm quite looking forward to it. It's like new tracks are always interesting, like even if it's not a great track, like the likes of Jeddah and Saudi. Not Saudi, that's the same track. Jeddah and
Jeddah
Qatar.
And Saudi is definitely the same circuit.
Qatar last year.
Qatar was good.
They were both good.
It was a good track.
Yeah, but they were both just interesting. Just even though, like the races, or Jeddah was a good race, but Qatar wasn't such a good race. But even so, it was still like the foray into the unknown is always quite fun. So
yes,
I'm sure Miami should deliver. The drivers are going to absolutely love it. You can just tell already by their post this week. Yeah, it should be a good race.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. I mean, we'll discuss a bit more about the track in just a moment, won't we? But yeah, I think a lot of the drivers, obviously, a new track is always a fun challenge. Not so much nowadays because everyone already knows exactly where they're going to be going around the circuit, thanks to all the simulator data and everything like that. But, you know, I think a lot of the drivers are going to enjoy the circuit. Daniel Ricciardo's going to enjoy hyping himself up for the weekend and then probably getting lapped by Lando like he did at Monaco last year. But we'll wait and see as to that one. But we have had some more news from upgrades, though, from certain teams, haven't we? I think the big one, Ferrari, are apparently bringing some MGUH, upgrades, aren't they?
I haven't actually seen much about that.
Well, obviously they're being a little bit shady with it. You know, perhaps we're getting some 2019 style spicy engines again. But apparently, I think it's about an extra 5 brake horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a good 10th a second a lap every lap. Yeah.
So, and of course, when you're in such a close fight with Red Bull as they are, any little marginal gain could be a difference maker between winning a race and not winning a race. So
exactly,
I'm sure the drivers will appreciate the upgrade if it works. It could be a classic Ferrari, put an upgrade on that makes it slower, but we'll have to wait and see about that. So
Yes, you never quite know. I mean, I don't know if you read the article this week. Mattia Binotto's come out and said he genuinely reckons each week it's going to swing between Ferrari and Red Bull, who's got the faster car.
Yeah. A bit like last year with Red Bull and Mercedes, really.
Well, Red Bull had the faster car for most of the year, but yeah. Speaking of Mercedes, though, Jamie, apparently they're also going to be bringing some upgrades this weekend. It's still a bit all over the show, isn't it, for Merc at the moment?
It's very, very weird. Like back in the first couple races, they were like, "Oh yeah, once we sort out the porpoising, we'll be rapid," and now everyone's kind of concluded that it's a deeper problem than that. I'll be interested. I'm sure the whole world will be interested to see if they've actually solved anything. I'm not a Mercedes fan, not a Hamilton fan, so I don't really mind. I don't like to see him in 17th, although it's funny once in a while, but not for the whole season. I think for the sport as well, it's good to have 3 different teams up the front. So hopefully it makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think this was the thing, wasn't it? Mercedes kind of felt like, you know, they could sort of put a Band-Aid on it and then realised it was an artery wound that they had, rather than anything else. It seems like whenever they try to fix it with one solution, it just generates another problem at the moment. But, you know, they're a big team. I'm sure they will get it sorted out sooner, hopefully, rather than later. It'd be nice to sort of see them fighting at the front this year. And I mean, we discussed this last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk online, sort of talking. I mean, it's been rather interesting, hasn't it, over the last 2 weeks? Two people you'd never expect to come out and support Hamilton have both done so. I don't know if you've seen this.
Mark Webber did this morning. Is that one of them? Or...
No, he wasn't.
Oh, well, he has today.
What's he come out and said today, then?
It's not Hamilton's fault that he's in 15th because the car is shocking, basically, which is what everyone thinks. So
yeah, the two that surprised me was, first of all, Fernando Alonso.
Oh wow.
He came out last week, obviously saying, it's so dependent on the cars nowadays in Formula One. He went from fighting for world championships to being nowhere with McLaren Honda. Hamilton has unfortunately ended up in the same sort of area. And then even more weirdly, Christian Horner has come out.
I think I did see that one, actually.
I think, to be honest, it's probably from Christian trying to make it out that Max is still better. But, he was saying, 5 races ago, Hamilton was battling for a world championship, and now he's nowhere. That doesn't happen overnight, unless we're sort of talking someone who has a big crash or something like that.
Yeah, they lose their confidence, which hasn't happened.
Yeah, the last probable person I could think of with that high-profile case was probably Felipe Massa.
Yeah, which was obviously not his fault at all. So
no, completely.
And he had getting on for a year out of the sport as well, with recovering from it. So yeah, Hamilton is still a good driver. There's everyone's saying he's a fraud. Russell's in 4th, he's 15th. They're just trying to bait people. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he would win a race this year. I'm thinking it's obviously easy parallels to make, but 2009 is starts off doing badly, has 5 races in a row where he's not scored points.
Nowhere.
In 2009, and then suddenly something changed mid-season, and suddenly I think he got the most points in the second half of the season. Hamilton.
Second half of the year, it was Hamilton and Kimi.
Yeah.
40 to 38.
Yeah, because Button and Red Bull were just frauding it. But there we go. So I'm pretty sure he will. I would at least 1 race. I probably would guess maybe 3 race wins for Hamilton this year.
3 race wins still this year. Fair play. I'm loving that. And I mean,
out of 20 races to go, or 19 races to go now.
19 races to go. Yeah, 3 wins.
Would you take that?
I think I would honestly, at the stake that Merckx in at the moment, I would take that quite happily. I want to see George Russell get a win this year. I want to see Sainz get a win this year as well. Finally get both of those to tick off their first wins. But I mean, even then, Lando Norris, I don't know if you read this week, has come out and said he genuinely believes McLaren now have the 3rd best car.
I reckon it's close, based on the last 2 races between them and Mercedes for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, which would be fascinating. If McLaren have finally built a car that matches Mercedes.
Yeah, it's just a shame for them that there's 2 teams that have done better than Mercedes for the first time in 8 years. So yeah, I think McLaren are definitely where we expected them to be at the start of the year. They obviously had big problems back in Bahrain and less so in Jeddah, but it was still kind of there with the brakes. But they've definitely got on top of it now, and that's a shame for the likes of HAAS and Alpha, who we all thought would fall off, or not fall off, but other teams would get their act together, like Alpine.
Catch up, isn't it? Yeah. And I mean, speaking of HAAS, still there's this ongoing controversy, isn't there, of have they taken a bit too much data from Ferrari?
This always comes up every time HAAS do okay for a bit.
You cannot deny as well, looking at the cross references, there's a bit of similarity there.
Yeah, but it's a lot less than the Racing Point Mercedes back in 2020.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
the fine and the point deduction for that was so minimal that this won't go anywhere.
But because of that though, they've completely changed the rules around it though. That's what you got to remember.
Yeah, yes, it's different rules now for listed parts and stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it does always make me chuckle when people say, well, you can moan about HAAS and then look at AlphaTauri. And then AlphaTauri have got a completely different car to Red Bull anyway. Yeah. AlphaTauri don't even take all the parts they could anymore, do they?
No, because they're confident in their own engineering, aren't they?
Well, it's obviously that as well is a big part of it, but of course it doesn't really make sense for AlphaTauri to take more Red Bull parts. Because let's say AlphaTauri accidentally nail something, Red Bull can then just nick it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why run 1.5 cars when you can run 2 cars?
Yeah.
If you've got the money for it, why not?
Yeah, because it's basically double the development, isn't it? Because you've got 2 independent F1 teams
It's effectively like having a $130 million, sorry, $230 million budget, or $260 million even, I should say, rather than 130.
Announce Mercedes B team.
Yeah, get McLaren back with them. You know, bring back the good old days. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Like, we talk about Mercedes like this. I mean, Aston Martin are eyeing up more going their own way each and every year. Lance Stroll wants a championship winner. Unlikely, but
that's going to happen.
We'll wait and see. And I really do think we might see Williams get more cozy cuddly with Red Bull. And maybe take some Red Bull powertrains. So they've got Albon already. I genuinely think this is the start of a shift for Williams.
Potentially. They do always like being independent, but they haven't been for many years
now. Not since Dorton took over.
Yeah.
Dorton have kind of tried to make them a cost-effective team.
Yeah. Which is why Latifi's still got a seat. But we'll gloss over that.
Damage costs. Yeah. Speaking of Aston Martin, though, Jamie, I mean, we're just rattling through bits of news, aren't we, at the moment?
Meandering around news.
Mike Crack has confirmed Aston Martin do want to keep Seb.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw they said they'd be stupid not to offer, which I think is probably fair enough, really.
Especially after last weekend.
Yeah.
We gave him a lot of stick after Albert Park, and then he very, very smugly just did very well.
Yeah.
We give Seb stick when he deserves stick. We give Seb praise when he deserves to get praise on this show.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he did. And it was, P8? Obviously,
P8
Stroll secured a 10th, which was pretty good as well for him.
Yes, the fact we went from Aston Martin won't score points to Aston Martin have immediately scored double points.
I think I said they would score points, which...
No, we said they'd score points, but not anytime soon.
Yeah.
It didn't look like they were in a position. Yeah,
they were one of
two
teams to get both cars into points at Imola.
Yes.
Which is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, fair play. They would be stupid to not... I mean, at the end of the day, he's a 4-time champion. He might be a lot worse than he was once, but he's considerably better than Stroll.
Yes, and
he does a lot for the team.
Let's not forget as well with Sebastian Vettel, he will make sure that there are green hats in a grandstand.
Yeah.
I see far too many people on Twitter that spend far too much money on just Seb merch.
Yeah, like our entire group chat.
Yes. No, I didn't. I bought Stroll merch.
Oh, nice. Got a free hat with it.
I got a free hat. No, I didn't even buy Stroll merch. I just bought an Aston Martin t-shirt that was so bland, you can't even tell it's an Aston Martin t-shirt.
Oh, that's a win.
It's incredible. Genuinely, like the writing on it is so faint, it's beyond a joke. That's why I'm repping McLaren Golf again today.
Nice. There's a helicopter outside my window, which I'm not sure if anyone can hear, but it's very loud, so apologies for that.
Lovely. I think the other big sort of news then, before we get into Miami, is still teams trying to shave weight off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, not Aston Martin. Alfa Romeo have come out saying they believe the other teams have been very manipulative.
Well, they have.
Because originally it was a 795 kilo minimum, wasn't it? And it's been bumped up to 798.
Well, Alfa Romeo was the only team to be at the minimum weight in pre-season. And all the teams with power were like, no, we can't get that light, so please up the weight limit, up the minimum weight. Which was pretty unfair on Alfa, I think. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think...
But no, I'm completely with you on it, though.
They've got a point, like, they can make their car go 795.
Yeah.
Why
can't anyone else?
Yeah. So it's led to the extreme examples, I think, of Williams and McLaren, where like they were blue and they were orange in pre-season, and now they're like blue and black and orange and black because they just keep stripping more and more paint. They're just going to be running like carbon fiber only in like 4 races time just to get to the minimum weight. But I mean, it is a bit stupid, I think, to be honest. Like, either keep the rules as they are. I mean, the FIA is still manipulated by the big teams, but that's been the same for 70 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's been the same since day one.
Yeah, but there we go. It's a bit of a shame for Alpha because they actually nailed it with the rules, but now they're getting punished for being too light. But there we go. But yeah, we could see just carbon fiber like black liveries come 3 or 4 races time when they're still trying to strip off grams basically, because it's such a small amount of money, not small amount of weight you save by stripping the paint off. But these marginal gains, they're all marginal, aren't they? But they add up. So
it's all about the 1%.
Yeah.
It's all about the 1% at the end of the day there. But yeah, I mean, it would laugh if... Well, I mean, Mercedes should have carried on with the black Mercedes, shouldn't they, really?
Well,
just marketed
did you
this
know
year with no paint.
This is a fun fact for you. It might be a fake fact because it came from one of my parents, I think.
If it's a fake fact, it's not a fact, Jamie.
But
in the
early 2000s, the lightest paint, because they obviously didn't have like spray paint, it was all like actual hand painted.
Well, every Formula One car was hand painted.
Well, maybe not hand painted. It was a different kind of paint to it is now, and the color red had the least paint in it, paint pigment. So that's why Ferrari. That's not true at all. I'm making it right up, but it sounds like it could be true that red is the lightest paint color, which is why the Ferrari was the fastest in the early 2000s.
You're honestly trying to suggest 30 grams was the difference between Michael Schumacher winning 2 world titles and winning 7?
Yeah. No.
Have you ever considered the fact it was maybe the fact Ferrari had
the best car,
a shit ton of money and unlimited testing, rather than just it's got red paint?
Yeah, maybe that.
Surely
maybe
I'm sorry, I'm not having this. Why wasn't Midland in 2006 scoring big points? Yeah, and Toyota. Why did I remember Midland before Toyota as well?
Yeah. Maybe I was lied to as a 6-year-old in the front.
I mean, that's just bizarre.
I don't know why I recall that fact now. It's not a fact. That old wives' tale now.
That is, I mean, you've completely derailed the show this week.
I have,
with some.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of rumours and speculation about the early 2000s in Formula One, but that one just is.
If
on
you've
a whole
got
level.
any more fake rumours about the early 2000s, leave them in the comments.
I have got a fantastic contract story from the early 2000s that I learnt this week, Jamie.
Go on.
And you are going to love this.
Is
I'm
it
going to have
DC?
to quickly... No, it's not actually a driver. I'm going to have to quickly grab up his name because I want to give him full credit here. But this story genuinely amazed me this week. So, this was the story of... He was an engineer at Minardi called Gustav Brunner. So he was at Minardi in 2001. He'd been there a couple of years, sort of, was well known sort of around the F1 circle back then. And obviously this was the time when Toyota were coming in, obviously, to the sport. Now, Toyota were very, very aggressively trying to get Gustav over to the team. Of course, it's highly documented now how much money Toyota were pumping into F1. He obviously... I think originally he was offered the same as what he was at Minardi, but he could sort of, it was a much bigger team. Everything like that.
And there was probably a pay ladder as well that you could have worked up pretty quickly.
Exactly. Obviously, there were going to be a lot more people he would have to be in charge of, everything like that. So he wasn't very happy with it. So obviously, he tried to request some more money from them. They then accepted... They then tried to come back to him, I think it was with a counter-offer, which he wasn't happy with still. So they were sort of haggling over price a bit. Obviously, no one quite knows what the numbers actually were. It was late on, though, in negotiations when Gustav had pretty much decided within himself that he wasn't going to go to Toyota, that he realised they were talking about monthly salary, not yearly.
Oh, wow.
They were going to pay him, in the end, it was about 15 times more than Minardi were. He would have easily accepted the first offer, because they were paying him what Minardi were a year every month. So he managed to negotiate about a 15 times pay rise over what he thought he was going to get.
I'm guessing he took it at that point.
He did very quickly pack his bags, left Minardi, and probably, drank caviar out of a champagne flute for the rest of his life.
I bet he's loving life now.
I just read that article this week, and it absolutely blew my mind that he was trying to negotiate with him and realised, it was monthly, not yearly.
There we go. Always read the small print.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But no, that was just a wild little fun story. To quite clearly, I think that has been a perfect segue onto the Miami Grand Prix, Jamie.
Yes.
Now,
they're pumping money at it as well. There we go.
They are. Well done. You've recovered that well for us. Miami, then. What a circuit this might or might not be.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's got Herman Tilke. Is it Herman Tilke? I always get this wrong.
It's got to be. No one else.
No, I
is
mean,
allowed
I always get him
still.
confused with the safety car driver, but it is Herman Tilke, the right.
You get Herman Tilke and
Bernd Mailander.
But that is such an odd combo.
Yeah,
to get
but
mixed up.
It's got his fingerprints all over it, Herman Tilke. This track.
Well, it hasn't got Bernd's fingerprints over it.
No, not yet. Not until lap 2 when he's out. But there we go. Like, I tweeted this about 18 months ago so follow me on Twitter, when it was announced the track was real. Basically every complex of corners on this track you can look at and pinpoint to another Formula One circuit, usually that's been designed by Herman Tilke as well. So the likes of the most obvious ones, I think 1, 2, and 3 are obviously just a reverse Senna S from Brazil, which wasn't a Tilke track, and then which is why it's good.
He doesn't copy other Tilke tracks, does he?
He does. He just takes his own ideas.
Sometimes.
Like 4 and 5.
He does take his own ideas sometimes, but the old tracks are generally better, so he
Yeah.
nicks stuff from them as well.
4 and 5 are just the S's from like Shanghai or Malaysia, if you recall those. 6, 7, 8 is absolutely Malaysia, second last corner. The lock-up corner on F1 games if you used to play them. Yeah. Like
I've never played an F1 game.
No, never.
Never.
It's just... It looks quite good, because they're all good complexes of corners. It just looks entirely unoriginal.
I thought you were going to give us the rest of the lap, to be honest.
No, I've run out of ideas now. Turn 12 looks like Sochi Turn 3.
Yeah, backwards.
14, 15 is just a chicane, so you could pick anyone, but then it's just a chicane. And then, yeah. I can't remember what we said for turn 17 before recording, but...
Turn 17, 18 look like turn 11 and 12 at Bahrain backwards. Yeah. Turn 12 and 13, sorry.
Yeah. So...
Actually, no, even 19 could be included in that.
Yeah.
It is 11, 12, 13 backwards.
Yeah. There we go. So, I mean, it does look quite good. There's plenty of opportunities for overtaking.
Mainly down into 17 or 11.
And 11, and maybe turn 1 if you get a great slipstream off 18 and 19. I don't know about DRS zones. Have they been announced yet?
I think they're going to be from 8 through to 11 and 16 through to 17 and then 9 to 1. 19 to 1, sorry.
Yeah, so should be a lot of overtaking, but we'll have to wait and see. It looks like a great venue, to be fair. Yeah, they've added a lot. Like, obviously, last time we raced in Miami, it was through a car park. So I'm glad that they've actually tried.
When was this? Sorry,
Caesar's Palace. Was that the?
That wasn't Miami, young Jamie. That was Las Vegas.
That was Las Vegas, of course. Yeah, wrong one. That's in a year's time. There we go. But yeah, I'm glad they've actually tried to jazz it up a bit and put some life around it, and that's a decent segue into the thing that Twitter have been obsessing over this week.
Yes, it's a weird obsession.
It is.
I mean, Twitter's full of weirdos. We're not going to argue against that. But there's been an odd obsession with the idea that, funnily enough, Miami want to make their track look different and exciting. Why wouldn't you build a fake marina? I've got one in my back garden.
Have you?
No.
Oh, well. It wouldn't surprise me knowing you, to be fair. But,
why? What?
There we go. I really think, like, genuinely, why not? I know you're being sarcastic, but it doesn't detract
there is an element
anything.
of why wouldn't you? Isn't there?
It's like, it doesn't detract anything from the track. From a distance, it looks good. Like, obviously up front, it looks a bit stupid because it's like cardboard water.
Yes,
but like,
that bit did make me wonder what was going on.
Yeah, but
like they could have just built a pond and put a canoe on it if they wanted to.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when Jenson Button flipped Pascal Wehrlein in Monaco?
Yes.
And
just put the fake one there. The fake signs.
They had the
poster boards.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
the poster boards were made to look like the marina because they were doing some scaffolding behind the posters.
Yeah.
Just like that's exactly the same thing, and no one kicked off then. So
pretty much.
I think it's a good thing. Like they're gonna.
Here we go. Jamie's gone on the record saying the fake Miami beach is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it makes it look cooler than just like a council. No, I can't say that, can I?
I was gonna say it's a car park if it's gonna be anything.
Yeah, it's a car park. Yeah, it's just like it brings a bit of more life to the circuit, and it doesn't take anything away from the track. I don't care about. Whatever. That's my rant.
Tell you what, my favourite thing about this track is.
And what is that?
It's the corner names.
Yeah, the corner names are very uninspiring.
I love some of my favourite corners. You know, the iconic Turn 5, or otherwise known as the Lot 5.
Or Turn 6.
Flows perfectly into Turn 6, otherwise known as the Training Complex.
Yeah. Turn 17, 18, which are my favourite, I think. Hospitality Village. And Turn 18, known as Lot 6.
Yes.
So there we go.
I even quite like Snake Canal.
Yeah, that's a very good corner. Snake Canal. Which I wonder if they've got a fake canal there.
Or a fake snake.
Oh, yeah, maybe both. They're both made of cardboard.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, I think though, like we said, looking at Miami, this is the problem, isn't it? We're going to a new F1 track. Now, I did wonder whether we should try and scheme this together, Jamie, and one of us say the track's going to create a brilliant race, and one of us say the track's going to create an awful race. But even then, I think the best example we can bring was the first year at Baku was awful.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's delivered fantastic races every year.
Apart from one, which was awful as well.
Yes, yeah, did have one other useless one, didn't they? But
Yeah.
apart from that, it's been pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, and it is always interesting going to a new venue. I think it should be good. Like, it's not the sort of track you look at and be like, that's awful, like Sochi, where you look at and say that's terrible.
Yes, yeah.
Like, there's plenty of technical parts, there's good flowing corners, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities. It's just like, the problem is, sometimes tracks just can't do anything about it, because, say in qualifying, you get all the cars qualifying in the order that they should be, then why would you have the overtaking?
Well, you make a track that punishes mistakes.
Yeah, which the barriers are very close around here, aren't they? So
yeah, but then no one makes mistakes. You want gravel traps.
yeah,
Jamie.
I suppose. Yeah,
That's what you want.
Get back
you want
to
an
Imola
old school
again.
circuit like Imola. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I miss Imola.
Yeah, it's been too long since you went, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, it feels like forever now. It feels like forever. But I mean, it's good job for Carlos Sainz. No gravel traps to end up in.
Yeah, he can't end up in a gravel trap for the third race in a row.
No, exactly. But yeah, I want to say this. I mean, to be fair as well, we've kind of come to Miami at the right time. Now we know the cars can stay closer. I think it does open up a lot of opportunities at a lot of tracks, doesn't it now? But I think the big one will be the run down into turn 17, maybe a bit into turn 11. But I think a lot of the first half of the lap is just going to be single file, and then between 11 and 16 is just going to be, you're never going to risk a move because you just slipstream past
That'll
them
be like the last
down
sector
to
at
17.
Singapore, won't it?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. But, well, I mean, we'll wait and see, though. Again, we don't want to sort of call these things too early, but who knows? Who knows what Miami's going to hold? Let us know down in the comments below what you think Miami's going to hold. Shall we get on then, Jamie, to our last big piece of news before we get into our predictions?
Yes, let's do it. And
Go
it's
on.
been finally confirmed after what feels like about 5 or 6 years. Like, ever since I've joined, like, F1 Twitter community back in, like, 2015-ish.
It's about 2016.
Yeah, there's been murmurs of Audi and Porsche, or the VW group generally, entering into Formula 1. And finally, they've actually said they are going to. Now, it probably won't be until 2025 or 6? 2026, yeah. But they've said that Audi and Porsche, which are both part of the umbrella group of VW.
Now, quickly, before we go any further, Jamie.
Yes.
Porsche or Porsche?
It's Porsche, right? I always call them that.
It's Porsche.
Am I wrong? Why?
Don't be one of those people.
Oh, sorry.
Do you know the only people that why they say Porsche?
Why?
It's because it's a longer word, so therefore they think people will hear them talking about their Porsche.
Well, I wouldn't know that because I don't speak to people who own Porsches. So.
It's a Porsche. It's a Porsche, not a Porsche.
There we go. Audi and Porsche are going to enter in some capacity, but it will not be, or this is what everyone's saying, they haven't confirmed or denied, it probably won't be as teams, so we're not getting 2 new teams or 1 new team.
No, which is kind of heartbreaking, isn't it, to be honest?
Yeah.
We could have really done with a couple of extra teams.
The murmurs and the talks are like Red Bull and Porsche will connect up for the Red Bull powertrains.
Yeah.
Potentially just, that's how Porsche will be in the sport through that. And then Audi.
I mean, Porsche engineering, there's so many iconic cars.
Yeah. And then Audi have had talks with a lot of teams, but they're probably going to be buying out a current, bit like what Alfa Romeo have done with Sauber, like basically a title sponsor.
I think they're going to go McLaren.
McLaren have been the one with most talks, but I don't see the McLaren name dropping off, to be honest.
No, but they'd be McLaren Audi.
Yeah. I think if Lawrence Stroll wants to sell, that could be a good one for Audi as well.
That's very true.
But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, both those names will be in Formula 1 in the next 5 years, but neither of them as new entries, I don't think.
Or it's highly unlikely.
But we do have the American one, Andretti. Are they still going?
Andretti is still talking. There's still talks there. I mean, it is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because, I mean, Porsche and Audi, I mean, sensibly, if VW Group are getting involved, they were never going to put two teams up against each other.
No.
It just wouldn't make sense. But then again, they did that in LMP1. They've done that in Formula E. Everything about it just always seems a bit weird.
Two teams one after another.
What, in F1?
Yeah, Red Bull and Toro Rosso.
Toro Rosso. But the thing was, obviously, Audi wasn't a junior team for Porsche, and Porsche wasn't a junior team for Audi. It was just 2008 when it was a disaster, and Toro Rosso beat Red Bull.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have at least one of them bringing in. But all it sort of makes me wonder is, are we going to see more open restrictions on the new power units? Because, of course, the reason why Porsche and Audi went up against each other in LMP1 was the fact that Porsche was famously using a V4 diesel, Audi was using a 6-cylinder petrol, with obviously completely different hybrid technology as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the engine regulations for 26 haven't been finalised yet at all.
They have not.
There was, interestingly, we forgot to put it in our notes, but they did release the initial idea of what they want the new cars to be like.
Yes,
which is generally smaller and lighter, which is what everyone's been
desperately
screaming for.
Needed.
Yeah,
Formula One cars should not weigh 800 kilos.
And they shouldn't be too wide to get two cars side by side.
Through the Baku Castle section.
Yeah, the minimum.
That should be the goal now.
The minimum width of a track should still be wide enough for two cars to go through side by side.
Yes. Yeah.
Which hopefully it will be with the new rules. But yeah, so I think the engine regs are still very much up in the air for 26. But you kind of imagine that a massive corporation like VW will probably be we're entering if you do this. So,
yes. Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah,
completely.
There's going to be quite a lot
VW and
of
Porsche
politics.
will decide what the new regs are, and everyone else will have to bend to their will.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does make me... Yeah, sorry. My mind is kind of just racing here with different optimistic ideas as much as anything else. What if, Jamie, we saw Formula One make a massive switch over to biofuels, but a lot more open about what engines you could run? So obviously completely biofuel.
Well, they've already committed to the current V6 turbo hybrid.
To the end of 2025?
Well, I'm reading a BBC article that says the architecture of the engine will be the same as now, a 1.6 litre V6 turbo hybrid.
So I was going to say, bring in biofuel completely.
Biofuel is where it's going, definitely, I think.
I do hope so, because, I mean, you could legitimately then bring back V10s.
Yeah.
Or V12s or V8 with biofuel. Yeah. And that would be the dream.
Yeah. Because those Porsche Super Cup cars are incredible at a track.
Yes, yeah, but they're only V6s.
Yeah, but even, it's just the noise they make is
Well, no, actually, no, I think they're straight 6s.
Oh, well,
I'm pretty certain still. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Formula One cars, again, when you're at a track, they don't sound bad by any means.
No, but it's nothing like it used to be.
Yeah, I was watching back some footage. I think it was, I want to say 2003, where Juan Pablo Montoya took pole at Monza by 0.02 of a second over Schumacher.
Which for a while was the fastest lap ever, wasn't it?
No. You're thinking of the wrong session. He did that in free practice, weirdly.
Oh, that is weird.
Because obviously refueling.
Oh, yeah,
things like that, yeah. But yeah, you imagine being at Monza listening to a V10. You just want that vibe back. You want that energy back.
The end of what year? I think it was the end of 2019, where they sent out Alonso
last year, wasn't it? In the R25, because obviously Alonso was coming back in 2021 with Alpine, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So in Abu Dhabi, they sent him out in the R26.
R25.
R25, yeah. Which is V10. Yeah.
Yes, the last, excluding the Toro Rosso from 2006, it was the last V10.
Yeah, and you hear the paddock interviews after the race with Hamilton.
They're all loving it,
and they just hear this V10 going around the track. It's like, wow. So
I mean, they were just a different breed back then.
Yeah, but they were horrendously unreliable. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, but I think with modern technology, you could make and the thing was as well, they were horrendously unreliable because you could swap engines out every race.
Yeah, engines had to last 2 races.
That was only in 05, I want to say, as well. They only did 06,
I've been watching 06 season review, and the engines fail at least 2 a race would just fail.
Yes, and it was a lot of BAR, wasn't it, early on in the year?
And Williams were just horrendous.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you could make V10s far more reliable, but I mean, even now, probably I thought with the engineering you've got, you could probably look to make a V10 pretty reliable for 5-6 races, even at 19,000 RPM. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of Honda. They tested, I think, one of their V10s. I think it was up to something mad, like 21,500 RPM.
That's stupid.
And it was just bonkers.
Yeah. And, like, engineering's come a long way in 15 years, so...
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, this was before the modern packaging of Formula 1 cars. That was right at the end of the V10 era. I mean, we have got very off track.
We have been rambling for minutes.
We've gone to V10s out of nowhere from this, but it does bring us nicely back, Jamie. I'm going to tell you a story about Gustav Brunner.
Oh, again.
2001 Minardi engineer, yeah. We're talking about V10s. But anyway, let's try and get this show back on the road. Final bit then, Jamie. Predictions. Although now, I'm going to have the next 4 races where I'm going to predict first.
Yeah, because I'm doing too well and Matt's throwing his toys out the pram.
Hey, no, you actually said it, not me. You said I could pick first for a while. I didn't even bring up the idea. I'm picking
go ahead.
First,
it's
though,
currently
this week.
16-9 to me after I got so many points for predicting Matt's
that's
domination.
Not good. Yeah. Right. Paul Leclerc.
Boring.
Race victory. Leclerc. Verstappen. Perez. I think Sainz is going to have another disaster.
Oh, no.
I don't want him to have another disaster.
This will be the one that he wins.
Oh, don't now, because it will. Oh, Sainz is actually going to win this now. You may as well predict that.
I will go Verstappen, pole position.
Okay. Yep. We basically just go the opposite to each other.
Yeah, pretty much. I will go... Oof. Oh, I want to be interesting, but I'll go
You're going to need a lot more than 3 predictions, mate, to make you interesting.
Wow. Verstappen pole, Verstappen win. Here come the comments. I can hear them already. Perez, another Red Bull 1-2. And Sainz, Leclerc disaster class. There we go.
Okay, interesting then. Interesting. Ready for the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, it's a bit difficult to really sort of talk too much about the race, isn't it? Because we've never been here. We don't know what's going on.
Nothing.
But well, we'll wait and see. For all we know, it could be an Alfa Romeo track or something bizarre like that. Looking at it.
Do that. Guan Yu Zhou podium. Let's go.
Oh, don't. Anything else to add though, Jamie? Before we round out.
Sort your fantasy teams out. There's streaks happening.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good point. Sort out your F1 fantasy teams before this weekend as well there. But thank you all so much for watching / listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like and get yourself subscribed or followed. We'll be back next week, hopefully not in such a rush, ready to review the Miami Grand Prix. Looking forward to a late evening race, Jamie. I think it's 8 PM race start, 7 PM race start.
Yeah, it's definitely in the evening.
It's going to be a vibe.
My calendar has 8:30, weirdly. Maybe it's that.
I am not going to be able to watch the end of the race if I've got work at 6 AM Monday. I tell a lie, of course I'll watch the end of it, but still. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll be back next week ready to review the Miami Grand Prix.